So after killing the guy, Deku took the money, kept a suitcase, and essentially ran, well, not ran, but yeah, pretty much, I guess you could say, ran all the way home, cut a hole into his wall where a poster was, put it behind the poster, well, not the gun, but since it was like, you can break it down, he broke it down to his pieces and hid it inside the wall. He's just like, okay. As for the suitcase, he just shoved it under his bed. Now, he's sitting in his room thinking about, oh, crap. As he's in his room thinking, I just killed a guy. But it was a bad guy. No, wait, I still killed a guy. That's against the law. He's literally freaking out right now. As then his dad's like, comes knocking on the door. Izuku, you there? He's like, yeah, Dad, just a second. As he's like, what do you need? It's like, can I come in? He's like, sure. As he opens up the door. As he's like, what's going on, Dad? He's like, nothing, I just wanted to check on you. You seem like you're in a rush today. Go anywhere? He's like, no, not really. He's like, okay. So, where's that watch your mom gave you? He's like, oh, it's, right here. It's like, he checks it and looks over it. He's like, flips open the bag. He's like, what? And it's like, your mom said she put a GPS in it. I wanted to see if she was actually telling the truth. As he's like, oh, guess she wasn't. As Deku's like, yeah. So, as he's like, alright, let's just cut to the chase. I saw what happened today. He's like, oh. He's like, Dad, I didn't want to do it, but he's like, I understand. But I'm telling you this, you're not going back there. He's like, wait, why? He's like, you are not going back there. He's like, come, Dad, it ain't that big of a deal. It's fine, it happened once, it's a one-off. He's like, I'm saying this is because I'm taking the police down there tomorrow. You'll stay out of that, as he makes it clear that, and if I hear about you being in one of those places again, you're done. I will, as he like makes the threat, I will tell you, the police, that you were there. As he's like, Dad, come on, Dad, you wouldn't do that. He's like, try me. Izuku, it may start off with fun and games right now, but it's a slippery slope. That's what many others think. Oh, it's just a one-time thing. Trust me, you killed him once. I don't know if you enjoyed, you just killed a guy tonight or yesterday. I don't know if you enjoyed it. I don't want to know if you enjoyed it, to tell you completely honest, because that's going to say one of two things to me. Second off, if they find out who you are, if they know what my family looks like, and trust me, I keep that stuff private, they will hurt you to try and get to me. I've messed up, I've screwed over, I've taken down a lot of villains in my day, as you know. I'm sorry if this was like your form of fun. Like, Snipes putting his foot down now. But it ends here. As he walks out. Go to bed, you got school tomorrow. He's like, yes, sir. As Deku goes to school tomorrow, as his dad makes up the promise, as it's shown on TV, Snipes raids an underground fighting arena. And is a major drug bust and everything. It is unknown. It is unknown how he acquired this information. As then they go on to explain, as people at school are like, did you hear about what Snipe did? As it's like that. As Deku's still kinda shell-shocked, but more or less he's gotten over it. Sorry. As since he has gotten over it, he's more or less focusing on school now. As we skip to several months into the future, Deku essentially has tried to stay away from that thing, like those things, and has actually become decent friends with Michael, Marilyn, and Jessica. He's also somewhat good friends with Ida, as well, he's more or less a good acquaintance, you could say, with Ida. He doesn't really interact with them, seeing Ida as a bit uptight for, like, his liking, you could say. So, sorry about that. As Deku's, like, I'd say around, let's see, I said he's like 16, I'd say, right now. So, as he's going on through his, like, sorry. As he's going through his days and such, well, his another school year, he's like, as with that warning, like, from his dad, it's sort of like sunk in, but now he's sort of getting like that feeling again, like that sort of feeling of just being bored and such, like utter boredom. Though he does hang out with his friends, and, like, he does enjoy hanging out with them, that does distract him. Overall, he's still a lot of the time at home by himself. And, like, there are days where he literally will just go home and just, like, exercise, do homework, and watch TV. And train. He's fallen back into that sort of repetitive lifestyle, you could say, as it's just the same thing day in, day out. Now, for Deku, like, for him, as his, like, being sort of adventurous, or sort of like those cowboy things, he does seek a sense of adventure or danger, or both. As he starts just, he starts to wander again, quite literally. He'll wander all over the city. And that's just how he does it. Like, Inko and Hizashi are barely home half the time. Since in those, like, several, like, in, like, that half year or so, Inko pretty much got rapidly promoted till she's, like, one of the high boards of, like, executive board members, you could say, of a company. And she's gone on business quite a lot. Snipe and her actually do talk frequently, and their relationship is still good, but they also talk a lot about, like, how's Izuku and such. He says he doesn't know, she says she doesn't know. So they pretty much use the cleaning lady, or maid, or butlers, whichever you prefer, as sort of informants, you could say. Like, calling teachers, or looking over reports. Snipe pretty much kept the whole, Deku killed a guy to himself. That's the only thing he really hasn't shared with Inko about Deku when he does go around and visits him. So, Deku's wandering again. Sorry. Ugh. As when he's wandering one day, he runs into, what's that person's name? He runs into a site. As he's walking, he sees a giant figure cloaked in a thing, with his fingers pressed into a wall, standing over two girls. Or, like, pretty much close, like, to towering over them. As as he sees a guy over there that looks around his age, black hair, and it looks like he has sharp teeth, standing there. As Deku's like, alright. As he puts on the best smile he can and walks over, he's like, hey! As he, like, walks over to like, schoolgirls. As he's like, "Hey guys, it's good to see you again." As he like throws his like arms, well, throws one arm, like gives each of them a, like gives both of them a hug at the same time. He's like, "Play along." And he's like, "It's been so long, guys. How about we catch up? Like, you guys have been so busy with school and such, you know?" As he starts walking with them, he's like, "Oh, sorry, guy. Sorry, my friend. I gotta steal him away from you for a second." As Deku on the inside of his head is like, all right. Just walk carefully." And as you guys probably know, that's Kirishima. As the guy's like, "Wait." He's like, shit. He's like, "Yes, how may I help you?" He's like, "Do you know how to get to the police station?" He's like, "Which one? There's multiple." He's like, as he says the name, he's like, "Oh, you go that way, and that way." He's like, "Is that, that's right, correct?" He's like, as he like the schoolgirls shake their head like, "Yeah." It's like, as he like, "Thanks." As the big guy goes walking away, as Deku's like, as they walk around the corner, as Mina actually even shows up, Kirishima actually saw Deku smooth talking his way out of that situation. As when everyone turns the corner, Deku's like, as like Mina and Kirishima were actually talking to them, Deku's like backs against the wall as he slides down. He's like, oh son of a shit. It's like, what? He's like, never mind. You guys okay? He's like, yeah. It's like, good. As he leans his head back, he's like, oh, as he like puts a hand over his heart, he's like, oh god, it's beating so fast. He's like, Izuku Midoriya, you are, as the girls gave their name, then the ones like, I believe his name is Ejiro Kirishima, and then there's Ashido Mina Ashido, there we go. It's like, pleasure to meet all y'all, as he uses the word y'all, as I don't think they actually have the Japanese word for y'all, so, you know, he throws in some, like, American words and such, that I don't, apparently they do have the word for Japanese, the y'all in Japanese, like, minya, or something. So, as he says it, he's like, okay, well, that was enough adventure for one day. I gotta go home. It's like, wait, as Mina's like, what? You said your name's Izuku Midori? He's like, yeah. As he's like, hey, if you ever need anything, as he like hands over his phone number, he's like, call me if you guys need something. That's me coughing. So like, alright, see you later, as he's walking away. So, with that being said, they're all like, okay. As he's like, maybe I'll go back there. I'm quite bored now. As he returns home and doesn't tell anyone. As he goes back to around that area, as he hears from news, an entire police station was destroyed by unknown means. The whereabouts of the perpetrator is unknown, and we hope to see. And as Deku's like, wait, that was actually where a police station was? As Deku's idea was to like lead him or give him false directions, you could say, as he's like, oh, that makes me feel terrible. As he's walking around the area, since he hasn't really been there and he likes walks, so as he just takes notice of like certain places, as eventually a familiar pink girl with horns approaches him, as so does the guy with black hair. As he's like, oh, it's you two again. Howdy. As he says that, it's like, howdy, is what Mina says in like a similar way. He's like, yeah, so apparently a police station was destroyed. As they're like, yeah. He's like, in all honesty, I didn't know. She's like, oh, I believe you. It's just that Kirishima's like, as he's just like looking like sort of doubt, like, down. Yeah, down. Deku's like, what? He's like, it's nothing. He's like, oh, this is Kirishima. He's like, yeah, we talked a little bit. As he hands out his hand for like a handshake, as she's like, She's like, a handshake? As she's like, oh, as she shakes his hand, pleasure. Do you guys know where there's any food around here? I'm kind of hungry. As it's like, oh yeah, as they're like, there's a good burger place around this direction. As Deku's like, oh yeah, as they like go and walk there. As he starts making friends with Kirishima and such. Well, Kirishima and Mina. They're talking. Eventually, Mina has to go use the bathroom. Deku's like, alright, and so is Kirishima. So as Kirishima's like been waiting as he like finally sees she has left, he's like, hey, why did you help them? He's like, He's like, why did you help those two yesterday? He's like, if I didn't, who would've? It looks like you're about to run into hit the person. And let me tell you, I don't think even from the looks of it, that guy might have been able to take on All Might. Then again, I'm not sure. As he's speaking to Kirishima, he's like, tell you the truth, what I did was a complete gamble. I would not recommend anyone else do it. As for the other things, well, I got lucky. Very, very lucky. If I hadn't been able to, as he says, bullshit my way out of that, I would have been squashed like a fine paste on the ground. It's like, luckily, those two know how to act pretty well. But, to get back on the thing, yeah, I just acted because I didn't want anyone to get hurt. Plus, I saw a way for me to help them. My quirk is pretty useless unless I have something that works with. He's like, oh, what is your quirk? He's like, I can control any bullet or any projectile that comes out of a weapon I use. So for instance, if I had a gun, I control the bullets that fly out of it. So if I was aiming straight, I can make it go to the right. If I was aiming up, I can make it go straight down in the way. See my point? He's like, yeah, I think I do. What's your quirk? He's like, oh, I can harden my skin. And the pink girls, he's like, she can, what she can do is, she shoots out acid. He's like, oh, you guys have pretty cool quirks. You guys can use yours without a little bit of drawback from what I can tell. My guess is yours has to deal with endurance, and hers may have to deal with if she secretes too much acid, it might start burning or something. I have no clue. It's like, actually I haven't asked her that before either. He's like, well, that'd be neat. As they continue to talk, eventually Mina does come back and they all start talking. He's like, yeah, like, I'm actually, like, I think I should probably get home soon. Takes me a while. It's like, wait, you don't live around here? Like, no, I take the trains and just explore the city completely. Like, I have a very boring life, you could say. So I look for a bit of fun every now and then. And you guys seem pretty fun, so I may actually come back and hang out with you guys. As he's like, see you guys later. Have a nice night. He's like, have fun. He's like, thanks. You have a nice night too. As Mina's like, man, that guy is really weird. As Kirishima's like, yeah. As he, like, Deku did tell him to, like, hang on, I got an idea. How about you exercise and such? Train. And actually, I would recommend this guy, as he, like, recommends him a guy called the whole Red Riot or Crimson Riot. I think it was Crimson Riot. Saying, yeah, his quirk was to harden his hair, but I think you'd like him. As Kirishima still watches the whole, thing about him, like, still being terrified, and that it's his fear that pushes Crimson Riot to save people, sort of ideal, because he still gets that idea. As when Deku's going through his, like, daily life, talking with people and such, As eventually he actually still, like, runs into Kirishima and Mina. And talks with Ida and such. As Deku's going through one day, like, he returns home one day and his, like, mom is actually there. He's like, oh, Mom, I didn't know you'd be here today. He's like, well, I thought I'd surprise you, It's like, well, it's a surprised welcome. Like, how long are you gonna be here? He's like, not long, I think, but, we'll see. She says I was given permission to open a company building here, Yeah, it shouldn't take long to get everything organized, but, She's like, oh, well, that's great. So you'll be around more? She's like, yes and no. I probably will still have to work really late nights to get a section of the company up and running. Sorry. But as for you, I say let's go out to dinner tonight. It's like, oh, cool. That sounds nice. As he, like, tags along with her. As they're talking, like, they go out to nice restaurants. Sit down and she actually just tells him a lot about how her work's been. Because Deku really doesn't want to tell her how he's been making new friends all over the entire city. And maybe beyond, since he has a lot of free time, As he does eventually get to that subject, and he sort of says he makes lots of friends. In high and in low places, you could say. It's like, he just gets around a lot, is what he says. She's like, so, any girlfriend? He's like, no. Absolutely not. She's like, why? He's like, just don't. As he just, like, how about, we talk about something else, as he, like, was drinking something. It's like, oh, well, so, you thinking about still applying to that UA place? He's like, actually, yes, I actually was. I'm actually talked with Dad a bit about getting permission to use an actual gun, or use something similar to an actual gun during the entrance exams. He says he would talk with people, like the headmaster called Nezu, since Dad's been working there for a few years already. It's like, so, yeah. As eventually a couple more months passed, as they were talking about their lives, continues meet up with Ida and that wouldn't work. But not Ida, but Kirishima and Mina. As he actually speaks with them more and more, she's like, so, As they, like, all just actually eventually becomes really good friends, as Mina actually talks with Deku about how Kirishima has changed so much. She's like, you've been talking with him one-on-one a lot. It's like, well, he seemed like he needed a bit of confidence boost, you could say. I just merely gave him a little push. As he's like, so, don't worry, I'm not trying to steal your friend away from you. She's like, it's not that, it's just that, like, wait, are you, and she's like, you've just been really singling him out and, like, talking with him one-on-one, spending a lot of time with him, even when I'm not there. He's like, yeah, he's a really great guy to hang around with. She's like, yeah, okay. As Deku's like, that's weird. As he starts thinking, he's like, wait, she ain't. Does she like him, or is she thinking I'm? As he's like, wait a minute. As then that brings out an entire thing between them, as he's like, wait, do you think I'm? As she's like, she's like, oh, I wasn't, yes, kinda, I was, like, I don't know, like, as it's just a really awkward conversation between them. Who wouldn't think it's an awkward conversation between someone like, hey, are you gay? as it's like a very embarrassing conversation. As he's like, no, no, no. I saw he was a guy. I saw he was a nice guy. Could actually become a good hero in a way. He just needed that boost of confidence, and I'm pretty sure you weren't gonna give it to him. She's like, oh, well, I thought... It's like, everybody needs a nudge. You need a nudge, I need a nudge every now and then. Completely normal. She's like, so wait, you aren't? It's like, nope. She's like, okay. As she's like, why? As she's like, wait, why? She's like, oh, no reason. As she's like, oh, girls are so confusing. He's like, damn it, why can't they be more simple like in the movies? As with that final thing set off, I hope y'all have enjoyed this. Hope y'all continue to enjoy this. And I will get to the UA entrance exam next part. And I hope y'all have a nice day, nice night, nice life.